Okay, you can go.
Thank you, Diana. And thanks everyone for joining us for this special generative AI episode of Connector Corner. I'm Charlie Greenberg, the product marketing manager for both Integration Service and our Connector catalog. Today, we're highlighting our Gen AI pre-built connectors that provide direct access to some of the most exciting Gen AI advances, including direct access to leading large language models, providing a wealth of current and new text completion use cases, to name just one category. So, if you're not familiar with the Connector catalog, here's a very colorful representation of a rapidly growing resource. And to be clear, this ain't all of it. And yes, if you're wondering, there's a granular way of filtering through the connector catalog to look at different categories, but that's something we can talk about later in the presentation. But to be clear, each connector has two missions in life: integrate and automate, or to automate any API-based system. So at a higher level, we have three major categories: connectors for line of business, connectors for IT system automation, and of course, generative AI automation connectors. And if there's no pre-built connector available for your needs, our connector builder functionality is ready to go. So moving along, I'd like to give a shout out to our community marketing manager, Diana Gray, who makes these Connector Corner webinars possible. We're also quite happy to have, in order of appearance, AI experts like technology evangelist George Roth and Scott Schoenberger, our dedicated AI senior product manager. And later on, a special appearance by Koji Takimoto. By the way, this is, as Diana was pointing out, an interactive presentation. We're very interested in your questions, your feedback, so please use the chat box or even be prepared to go live and talk with us. And with that, it's my pleasure to welcome George Roth.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here with the community. I consider the community always the main pillar for UiPath. Here you'll find the best ideas, you find the most enthusiastic people for all what we do. We could not exist without you guys. I would call this not the connector corner. It's better to say connector cornerstone, because basically I think we are not in the corner with the integrations. The integrations are super important for everything what we do. So this will be a very unconventional presentation, will not take too long. Hopefully you will enjoy it. If you want the next slide. How to start this. So I tried to find a picture for this, and for the big bang of AI, which happened October 2022, which was the launch of ChatGPT, which changed everything. Many people say this is equivalent of an industrial revolution. And I asked DALL-E, ChatGPT 4 and DALL-E, to create a picture. The picture is funny. All the pictures are almost the same when you ask them to do. But basically, I liked what they said to explain why they did this picture. He said, this artwork creatively merges the cosmic inception of the universe with a symbolic milestone in AI technology, showcasing a metaphorical big bang of technology. I liked how that was formulated. That's why I put that in. Please, next one. I don't think you ever saw an automation presentation which starts with a movie. And I don't know, most of you are very young. I don't know how many of you saw this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. When I was asked to speak at this event by Charlie, he said, we would like to see what is really the impact of this Chat GPT and Gen AI to our lives. And I have this movie which I love to watch every year, mostly on Christmas. I watch it, but it's a fantastic philosophical idea. It's basically about a person who lives in a town in the U.S. The movie was launched in 1945 after the Second World War, when the United States needed like a very optimistic view of life. And the idea is, in this town, there is a guy whose name is George. It's a pure coincidence. And he actually gets in a financial trouble. He's running a bank, and then he decides to commit suicide because he says he is worth much more dead than alive. And then when he tries to commit suicide, God sees him from the sky and sends um, an angel who needs to do something really good to get his wings, and goes and saves him. And then he tells George, let me take you back to the city where you lived to see what would have happened if you would have not exist. And this nice paradigm, I think it's an amazing story. He presents what would have happened during in the city and how many things would have been changed. And the same, I wanted to build this presentation to present what would have happened if ChatGPT was not born. So basically, definitely this generative AI initially was not started in October 2022. The first, I would say the Big Bang was that famous paper published by the 8 people from Google, which was called Attention, All You Need, because they didn't find another name. And all these people are still very active. Most of them have amazing startups. I published on LinkedIn about this. I gave you my LinkedIn link in the chat so you can read about this. But anyhow, you saw that after October 2022, the software development tools had a really amazing progress. Fantastic progress in debugging and testing. You could see at the AI Summit recently, if you didn't, you can watch there our testing, which actually revolutionizes the whole thing with this Gen AI. Definitely the creative industries were very seriously impacted. Custom software solution, definitely you can see now, if we would have not had this, the public discourse would have not talked about AI at all and regulation. Recently, we got the big regulation in Europe, the first of that kind. In US, I don't know if you know, there is no federal regulation about AI. There is only per industries, and even states have their own. Chatbot and customer service. It's really amazing. I suggest you to look at one chatbot, which is Character AI. It's created by one person who was one of the author of the 8 magnificent scientists from Google who created the first paper. Accessibility technologies, definitely it has a lot of impact in I saw technologies related to helping the blind or helping the deaf people. So amazing. In impact in education and learning, there are 2 impacts. There is a negative one, in the sense that many schools didn't know how to act to this new technology, to react to this new technology. They prohibit the students to use it in their papers, which I think is stupid. but basically the students can use this in a right way to document, and they don't have to read 7 papers to see what's the difference between them. They are very easy to ask the Gen AI to tell me what is the difference between these 7 science paper. There are a lot of very nice solutions for researchers. Definitely science, influence on science research. One of the other 8 people who was in the famous paper, it's working on a Gen AI solution which basically takes a lot of data, and the result are molecules, artificial molecules, which are used in fight against cancer, similar technologies like the RNA, which it was used for COVID. Definitely there is an impact on employment and skill demand. Here, the things are, there are negative effects too. I mean, you can see all over the world. I noticed mostly in Romania, for example, which I follow closely, there are a lot of layoffs in IT. And I think it has it is because of Gen AI also, but the idea is the programmers will have to reskill and to learn new skills, because writing code becomes a commodity with Gen AI is good. Obvious new jobs and so on. If you want to go further, please. Next slide. Charlie, next slide. Okay, I just wanted to show you effects on financial effects are huge. So if you look here at the moment when ChatGPT launched, you'll see basically the graphs, how the tech evolved, the stock prices of tech compared to the non-tech ones. There is a great article in Economist, if you read Economist, about this, where I borrowed this from. Another look at the jobs. You'll see the growth of these jobs in different countries, jobs related to Gen AI. Next slide, please. Now, this is super interesting. I asked ChatGPT actually, tell me what is the most capitalized companies in the world in 2023, and they showed me this. And they gave me, they don't have the update for 2024. I left this to see really not only to be aware that you not get always the latest information, but look here, they tell you that 2024 Apple is 2665, but to see the speed that this is basically developing, this is not valid anymore. I get the next one? Look at this. The Microsoft became the most valuable company in 3 months. So that was December 2023. Look, now in March, it passed 3 trillion. I definitely believe that Microsoft is the main winner. Why? Because it's a combination of cloud, combination of AI software, and they basically hired everything they could. And they have this partnership, OpenAI. Basically, they own OpenAI too. If you want to go to the next one, and another, no, previous one, please. NVIDIA, if you participated to GTC last week, you saw NVIDIA pass $2 trillion capitalization. Just think about, they were around 300,000 in 2021, which is equivalent to Home Depot, and now they are the 3rd best capitalized company in the world. So NVIDIA, which is spreading in every layer of the AI stack. So next slide, please. So another conclusion which came from the economists, which I like, that most of the firms do not currently use GenAI. Microsoft's Copilot or other such tool in a systematic way. So people are playing with it, but the problem is governance and trust. And UiPath, I think we are on the right path to allow enterprise to use this Gen AI in a way that is acceptable for the harsh requirement of the enterprise. The next one. And now to segue in the subject of this webinar, you can see here a great graph between different providers of LLMs and the GenAI resources. You'll see it's a whole mesh of connections between them. I mean, nobody these times, because of this progress, can work by itself to everything. And the key of success, this is one of the big UiPath philosophy, it's open. To be open to the best technologies in the world to be integrated in our platform. And that's why integration service that my colleagues will talk about is absolutely essential, the connectors that you will hear about this. And this is the segue to basically go to Scott. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much, George. Really appreciate it. It's always good to get kind of a macro view on Gen AI. I think we get so focused, particularly in product and engineering, we get so focused myopically on features and shiny objects. So it's really nice to be able to see kind of industry trends and understand really how this transformative technology is playing out across multiple industries. My name's Scott Schoenberger. I'm a senior product manager, as Charlie mentioned at the outset. I work on a variety of different things here at UiPath, but traditionally I've focused kind of on our connector content, so our connector catalog. These are, of course, the API wrappers that we offer as part of our Automation Cloud offering. That include connectors and activities whereby you can accomplish common RPA tasks, right? And so I actually focused, as of about a year or so, I've focused pretty exclusively on the AI category of our catalog. That has kind of morphed in ways that I will explain in terms of how we're approaching, Gen AI services being available in Studio Web and Studio Desktop and apps and all of those other great downstream build products. But yeah, I'll go ahead and just do a quick introduction in terms of how we view the world in terms of Gen AI within integration service and beyond. As George mentioned, one of kind of our key tenets is being technology agnostic, right? Your teams have made very deliberate choices when it comes to your technology stacks. We want to meet you where you are, right? In terms of the services that you've selected, obviously very in certain cases onerous security tests and evaluations that you've gone through to select those services. We want to make sure that we're empowering you to take advantage of this kind of cutting edge technology, and doing so in a way that allows you to choose the service that you want to use. The other thing that has come up over and over and over again in terms of conversations with customers, and I think is a good segue from what I was just talking about in terms of security evaluation, is this concept of I'd love to use generative AI, but I'm very concerned about the potential for hallucinations, for kind of content that's not appropriate for kind of external use. There's just too many risks, too many unknowns. And I think we have a lot of kind of features that we're working on that should assuage some of those fears. Again, the idea is that you get to take advantage of, all of the efficiencies that can be gained for your business via generative AI. And then the final one that I always hear, and probably why most of you showed up today, is of course, what are the use cases, right? What the heck am I supposed to do with this prompt, right? I'm sure folks have had lots of opportunity to work with, kind of ChatGPT and those other user interface versions of generative AI. And then when it comes to, how do I apply this in a way that's kind of production worthy, enterprise ready, those are obviously key concerns that we want to think about, obviously, in terms of how we go about feature development here. So these are kind of guiding principles, should be pretty self-explanatory, but hopefully you'll be seeing these principles kind of distilled in all of the feature development that we're approaching. We can go to the next slide. So this is probably a slide that everybody's seen time and time again. We keep adding to this. This looked very, very different a year ago. I mean, the services that were available looked very, very different a year ago. The proliferation of large language models and kind of the hyperscalers really kind of putting their thumb on the scale here in terms of how powerful these models can be. And of course, I think some of the conversation now is powerful and small, right? So making it easy and quick, low latency is the key here. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that we've added recently. So you should see within the OpenAI connector, we have GPT-4V. So that's going to allow you to accomplish vision tasks. So you can send an image along with your prompt. And really, I've been shocked with the results there. Much more powerful than kind of if anybody's familiar with the Microsoft Cognitive Services vision models, and it allows you a lot of latitude in terms of kind of coming up with your own custom prompts to go along with those images. So this is kind of our first foray into the multimodal world. You'll also see this isn't represented here, but we have added Google speech to text and text to speech. I know there's a lot of really cool use cases that can be accomplished using that. And then, in terms of Vertex, we've also added the Gemini vision model. So kind of a similar user experience from an activity perspective in terms of being able to attach an image file and then send a prompt along with that image. One other thing that I just wanted to highlight quickly, we had an awesome success story for those of you that were able to check out DevCon and the AI Summit. We had a senior business leader join us from IBM. Their team actually approached us, so their internal consulting arm approached us about, hey, we'd really like to start building automations with generative AI. However, a major roadblock for us would be being able to use Watson X, right? So this is both kind of internal automations that this team was building for across the IBM organization, and then also building out assets for their consulting arm. And really cool, they actually built their own connector using Connector Builder. It really is super simple. We actually took what they built, made a few kind of user experience enhancements, and then published that and made that available to all Automation Cloud users via the catalog. So encourage you to take a look at that connector. You'll see the proprietary Granite model there, as well as Llama 2. Llama 2 is available in a bunch of these different connectors. But yeah, we're really trying to run the gamut here, and this is kind of that technology agnostic principle in action. So thanks, Charlie. A couple of other things that we've added recently that, again, if you've been a part of DevCon or our insiders product previews, you've probably noticed that we've added a vector database connector. So this is kind of a new offering from us. It does require a little bit more kind of a technical understanding, or at least an understanding of the architecture of retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So this is kind of the ability to build a knowledge base, and then when you submit a prompt to a large language model, you reference that knowledge base. So what that offers you to do is really extend the use cases that you can consider for your automations using GenAI, because you can insert proprietary context. And so we want to offer a connector approach to this, so that you can set up your vector database, index however you see fit within Pinecone, and then reference that vector database when you go to generate a chat completion. So this is going to be, I think, a game changer. You're going to see this right now in just Azure OpenAI. So within that connector, we have the generate chat completion. You are able to identify a vector database. The vector database that's available right now is Pinecone. I know there's probably some demand for Weaviate and a couple of others. Those are things that are kind of on the horizon. Of course, ahead of that, you have the ability to create a separate vector database connector via connector builder. So there's lots of options for you right now. There shouldn't be a major roadblock if you need to wait, and hopefully we can kind of accelerate our development internally to make sure that we have other vector database connectors available. That's fine. I'm also going to talk about in a bit another option for you to accomplish RAG, or inserting kind of context grounding, in a second. But this next bit, if you want to go to the next slide, I'm excited to show you this demo from Koji. He's a director of product support internally here at UiPath. He was very, let's call him, he was our first adopter of the connector version of RAG. And I think this is a really important use case, just to demonstrate, hey, this is good enough this is in production right now internally at UiPath. And he's going to explain kind of the use case that he considered, and some of the architectural concerns that he had. But just this gives you an idea that we're dog fooding, right? This is it's good enough for our internal processes, and should give you an idea of how you could potentially implement. So we're gonna go ahead and press play on this this video here.
Hello, I'm Koji Takimoto. I'm the manager of the customer support team at UiPath Japan. Today, I'm talking about new activities for Azure OpenAI and vector database called Pinecone. I'm very excited about the new activities. Let me explain why this new feature is great and how you can actually use it for customer support automation. Here is the overview of the process flow of the customer support automation with the new integration service activities. First, the bot retrieves the customer's question from Salesforce. The integration service SFDC connector is used for this. Then runs create embeddings activity to vectorize the customer's question. Next, the bot runs query embeddings activity to search for knowledge base articles related to the customer's question. At this time, the vectorized question from customer is used as a search parameter. Next, embed the knowledge base articles as part of the prompt, and ask ChatGPT to respond based on the KB articles. Finally, the ChatGPT response is sent to a support engineer via Salesforce and Slack. All of these processes can be implemented and managed in a unified manner by integration service. Here is an example of a prompt to answer questions about UiPath Studio. The red words are the areas that will be added later as variables. The prompt contains instructions for answering questions about the product as a support engineer. Also, this prompt contains instructions to respond using knowledge base articles. Knowledge base articles returned as a result of searching the vector database are added to the prompt later as variables like knowledge base article 1 and 2 and 3. Finally, as an actual question from customer using variables. This is an example of ChatGPT response displayed in a ticket management system. Support engineers can see the response from ChatGPT as reference information the moment a ticket is assigned to them and they open it. This feature is especially effective for engineers with less experience. Engineers with less experience may sometimes not know what to look for or how to investigate a technical issue. In such cases, starting by checking if the information provided in the ChatGPT response is accurate can be an effective approach. Now let me show you the sample workflow. This is a use case where you can create your own prompt and ask a question to ChatGPT. First, retrieve a customer support ticket from Salesforce. Next, the question from customer is vectorized using create embeddings activity. Query embeddings activity is then used to search the database by passing a vectorized question as a parameter. The activity returns the top 3 most relevant knowledge base articles in this case, out of all articles. Next, metadata is extracted from the search result. The original knowledge base articles is included in the metadata, which is then retrieved and added to the prompt later. The 3 KB articles are stored in a variable. Then complete the prompt by adding a customer question and KB articles to the prepared prompt. Then use chat completion activity to ask ChatGPT the question. GPT-4 is specified as a model in this case. Finally, ChatGPT response is sent to Salesforce and Slack and presented to engineers. Okay, let me show you a demo. Now, let's ask customer support. This is a customer support waveform. You will now enter your question. The question is about the procedure for transferring a UiPath license from an activated PC to a new PC. Let's try running it from Studio. First, retrieve a new ticket from Salesforce. The question is what was entered earlier. Next, the question is vectorized using create embeddings activity. Search for KB articles in the vector database with query embeddings activity. The activity returns the top 3 most relevant articles in this case. The prompt is completed by incorporating the customer's question and the associated KB articles into the prompt. Make an inquiry to ChatGPT using chat completion activity. ChatGPT then generated a response in accordance with the KB articles provided. In this way, you can easily create a process. In building the system, we considered the following matters. First, information security. Knowledge base articles are stored in the database and categorized into 3 levels of confidentiality. Let's imagine a human support engineer investigating an issue They gather all permissive internal information, including confidential documents like information on product bugs, and select information that can be disclosed to customers to create a response. The same consideration applies when using ChatGPT. Rather than simply providing ChatGPT with knowledge-based articles, it would be a good idea to also provide information regarding their confidentiality levels. This allows support engineers to assess the confidentiality of ChatGPT's responses. Next is the scope of information. Knowledge-based articles should include attribution information as to which product and which product version, and whether the information is still valid. This allows us to precisely select the articles that are relevant to customers' problem. The third point is to achieve a free automated update cycle. Many new knowledge-based articles are created every day. Knowledge-based articles are created by support engineers and reviewed by senior engineers before they are ready for publication. Articles that have been reviewed should be reflected in the database immediately upon completion of the review. Database makes it easy to update information. The fourth is the volume of articles. We use about 20,000 articles. We need a database to manage it efficiently. Last but not least, there is the issue of scalability. ChatGPT's responses are not always swift. In order to process a large number of inquiries, parallel processing is essential. With UiPath, it becomes straightforward. Scaling up is as simple as increasing the number of robots. Using UiPath integration service and vector database is the best approach to solve all these issues and build a system. When comparing UiPath integration service with competing services, integration service is the easiest way to develop at an enterprise level. Integration service does not require Python. It can also use database as well as files as data source. Building an enterprise-level system requires a database, and integration service can easily accomplish this without requiring users highly technical skills. The last topic is development efficiency. We first built the system in Python. Actually, I developed the system alone. I used to be a developer more than 15 years ago, but I haven't written any code for a while, and I had never used Python in the past. And this system was the first time I used Python. Python is a wonderful language, and I have grown to love it. Much of the code was generated by ChatGPT. Still, it took about 2 months to develop the system through a series of trial and error. In Python, you choose the libraries you need, learn about their technical specifications, and then actually install and start using them, experience a lot of problems, and finally have a working system. The problem is that there are too many options to achieve one thing due to its flexibility. On the other hand, integration service has no room to stray by declaratively placing activities. Therefore, the required development time is very short. Not only does it shorten the development time, but it also enables non-engineers to create automation processes. The new activities for Azure OpenAI and vector database in integration service offer new possibilities not only for engineers, but also for non-engineer business users. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Koji. Unfortunately, Koji couldn't join us live. He's in Japan, and not the most convenient time for him. But that was a fantastic and actually a very common use case that I'm hearing about quite a bit in terms of how to or use cases that require the ability to reference internal documentation, proprietary information, and really, in a way, kind of be able to quickly and easily set up intelligent chatbots without the need for code. So this kind of segues into our next big release and something that I'm very focused on right now in terms of when it comes to new features and functionality. We started to understand that it's great to have all of these connectors that are available to give you the kind of optionality around which models to use and kind of taking advantage of subscriptions to these services and implementing GenAI directly into your workflows. But there's actually quite a bit of value that we can layer on top of the GenAI connectors. And so we have actually released a first-party connector. So this is a service that sits underneath the activity. It's a UiPath service. And it gives you the opportunity to interact with large language models that we host internally at UiPath. There's a couple of advantages to this. You don't need a subscription to any service in order to kind of take advantage of the benefits of generative AI in your workflows. And B, it gives us the opportunity to layer on top certain features like that are available for the AI trust layer, which we'll talk about in a second. And then also kind of speaking to this RAG architecture, we're going to be offering context grounding. So there was really kind of a couple of things that we took into consideration when we started building out this connector and the underlying activities. One is we manage the subscription for you. While this is in preview, by the way, it's totally free. So we would love to see some folks experimenting with this. I think this is the right group to be speaking to in terms of tinkerers. So excited to hear some of your feedback. Beyond that, again, being able to layer kind of trust measures, context grounding. And then the third one is actually offering kind of guidance in terms of prompting. And the way that that's going to play out, you can see kind of in that small list of activities right now, summarize text. So basically, that is an activity where we have determined this is the most effective prompt. And we're going to go ahead and say that this is the default model that should be used. We give you the ability to change that. But the idea is we just ask for you to provide us with the string to summarize, right? So we take care of the prompting in that sense. And what you're going to see is kind of an explosion of different activities that take advantage of this. So really what's going to happen is you're going to see these activities that correlate to common RPA tasks and are easy to configure, no need for kind of a prompt engineer to be involved. And so you'll see things like named entity recognition, different types of extractors outside of the DU experience. So this will, I think, cover a lot of different use cases. Some of the AI Center skills, for those of you who are familiar with AI Center, will also be turned into these activities that will be easy to configure and manipulate directly in your workflows. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, Charlie. think we need to do a couple extra clicks. Yeah, there we go. One more click. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So just to kind of give you a sense of how this looks, right? You have customer data and apps that theoretically would be surfaced in your workflows via other connectors. So for instance, I download a file from SharePoint, and then I'm using these the GenAI activities to then execute kind of common tasks using LLMs. And what you're going to see is you'll be able to take advantage of this AI trust layer, which includes things like PII filtering and or detection. Something I'm going to talk about in a second here, context grounding, and really more importantly, be able to access LLMs that we use internally to run other services. So you might be familiar with things like Wingman and Autopilot. Those are experiences that use GenAI to help you build automations using natural language. This is something that I believe is in private preview right now. Will be released shortly. But again, you're taking advantage of the models that we have managed internally to execute these activities. No subscription necessary, and it takes advantage of this AI trust layer. Next slide. So I kind of referenced this before, but these are some of the activities that are going to be available in the activity pack. So the activity pack is called GenAI Activities. It is in preview, so you need to go ahead and set up an automation policy an automation ops policy in order to see those preview activities. That can be found obviously in your automation cloud, automation ops module. And once you have that policy set, you'll be able to start seeing the activities that are available right now. Now, these are the activities that we have kind of planned moving forward. So again, named entity recognition, analyze image, translate. These are going to be common tasks, right? That you might see right now in terms of document understanding activities or AI center activities. This is going to allow you to really kind of execute these common LLM infused tasks directly within your workflows without the need for a subscription. Some of these are also going to be context enabled, meaning you can take advantage of a first-party system that allows you to build knowledge bases directly within your orchestrator buckets, to reference files directly in the activities in order to really answer a prompt with context. So let's move to the next one, Charlie, and we can just quit beating around the bush and actually talk about what the heck we're talking about. So yes, this is kind of something that we're releasing in the next couple of weeks in public preview. And this is going to basically be the ability to ingest and index documents and or data into orchestrator buckets. And what's going to happen is you're going to see within those activities I just mentioned before, you can reference a file and or an orchestrator bucket. And in that way, you're going to be able to answer or prompt LLMs and insert context directly into your for use in terms of the output. So really everything that Koji just mentioned, that's kind of the connector approach. We're going to have this first party approach as well. So let's go to the next slide. And so here's kind of maybe what that might look like, right? So some context grounding scenarios that we're going to offer as kind of standard would be the ability to reference a large file in your automation. So you would set on the left here, you would set the context grounding to file resource and then pass in a file. You have the ability to persist that file, meaning you'd identify, what knowledge base it would get stored in, i.e. what orchestrator bucket it would get stored in. Or you would just reference an existing index. So let's say, for instance, in Koji's example, we have all of our product support documentation already uploaded into an orchestrator bucket /index. and I need to ask I'm going to pass in a user-defined question, right, about, some support issue. And what this activity is going to do is it's going to go ahead and reference that knowledge base. It's going to pull out semantically similar results and insert those into the prompt. And this is happening all under the hood. This is something that UiPath 100% takes care of. And again, in this way, you're able to very effectively take advantage of RAG architecture managed by UiPath. So I think that this is going to be kind of a game changer in terms of the LLM activities. I'm really excited to see what folks come up with in terms of use cases. This, of course, gets us beyond what we have right now, which is more of, you have the ability to reference the foundational models, which only has data from the public domain. This really opens up the aperture in terms of use cases that you can consider. This should be available kind of end of April, maybe May timeframe in the public preview. And then hopefully we can get this to GA this summer. Northern Hemisphere. I know that we've got lots of people from all over the place. So yeah, thank you. I think that's it, right? I'm really excited about to hear kind of your feedback, answer questions. I really want to work with everyone here and kind of understand what use cases you're planning to accomplish, and how we can more effectively meet your needs.
Thanks, Scott. And now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Diana and the Menti quiz.
Great. So let me pull that up. So I also put the Menti information into chat, and I'll give you guys a few minutes to log into that.
Are we going to do live questions, or do you want me to respond via Zoom?
Let's do them live.
Hey, Diana, we're seeing your email, FYI.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start to attempt to answer some of these. Vinaya, you asked, how are you making sure KB article data and the user prompt is not going public? Again, we kind of have to bifurcate our answer to this now that we're talking about, hey, we have the connector route, and then you have kind of the first party service route. When it comes to the connector route, it's the exact same answer as we would give for any of the connector automations that you set up. UiPath is really acting as a connective tissue, right? Really kind of providing that iPaaS-like functionality, integration platform as a service, for those of you not familiar with that acronym. And so we have kind of API wrappers that make it easy for you to format API requests. Might be kind of multiple API calls in a single activity. But again, the idea is that it's really focused on the RPA developer. When it comes to the services that you've selected, right? So in the case of Pinecone, you obviously would have to go through your own security evaluation to make sure that Pinecone kind of meets your SecOps team's needs, right? So we don't kind of get involved in terms of once the request goes out to Pinecone. We obviously don't get involved in terms of how that data is persisted in Pinecone, and then also in terms of how it comes back in. So if you were, for instance, querying that database, we're not persisting any of your data, any of your information, kind of within UiPath. But you need to make kind of sound decisions when it comes to your unique security needs and the tech stack that you've selected. That's the connector conversation. For the first-party service, all of the information that is housed within our orchestrator buckets and in the indexes, which again is not indices, I should say, which is not available right now, but will be, is kind of subject to the same data security principles and features as UiPath's data service and UiPath, kind of the way that our orchestrator security features are set up. So assuming you have approved UiPath as meeting your security needs, the platform overall, and I'm talking about Automation Cloud here, there should be no concern in terms of kind of the security measures that are available. The other thing that I was going to mention is that the prompts that go out to the third-party LLMs are also never persisted on their side, right? So we have data anonymization. We track usage if that's something that you've opted into, but none of that data or information is available to UiPath or outside partners. Hopefully that answered that question. Okay. Vipin Garg, how are the data privacy issues addressed to get organizations to deploy some of these great features? I guess, Vipin, if there's if you could kind of expand on what specifically the data privacy issues are, I can answer that more effectively, I think. Michelle asked, can we use these activities in Studio Desktop or only Automation Cloud? I think we need to make a clarification here. All of integration service is only available in Automation Cloud. And so you do need to be on Automation Cloud in order to take advantage of both the connectors and the activities therein, and then also the first-party service that we offer, so the GenAI activities. So it is available in Studio Desktop, those activities, but you do need to be an Automation Cloud user, just like you would need to be an Automation Cloud user to take advantage of any integration service, connectors, and activities therein. WM asked, will UiPath create official activities for LLM framework LangChain? So I'm wondering if you were discussing the LLM framework that's available in Marketplace. There aren't any specific plans for activities that foot to LangChain functionality directly. But we should be kind of solving the same types of use cases that LangChain offers you, especially vis-a-vis like the ability to reference variables and arguments in your prompts within your automations, right? So that really makes the prompting of the models dynamic. If there's something else that you got that you were talking about there, I'm happy to hear you out. In the future, will it be possible to specify what is considered PII? Absolutely. So there is an activity that's available in that first-party service right now. So within GenAI activities, that allows you to detect specific types of PII and then also mask that PII. You can go ahead and decide that, hey, I'm going to pass in a string and I want you to try to detect all of the PII. Full disclosure, we actually use a cognitive services model from Microsoft in order to detect and mask PII. So you can reference the Microsoft Cognitive Services documentation to see what types of PII we support. But again, that is totally available to you. I would recommend that you experiment with that PII detection activity right now. Does pricing differ based on which LLM you opt to use for a given task? Also, what determines pricing? Is it based on volume of words, tokens? This is from Dan. Dan, we are not completely agreed in terms of our pricing strategy for this, but certainly the GenAI activities will be based on in some fashion token consumption. Every LLM has a different way of kind of calculating tokens. Certain, kind of more powerful models are likely going to require more total tokens in terms of inputs and outputs. So yes, it will kind of like roughly translate to the amount of words that are submitted in the prompt and also the words that are output by the model. So I just want to call this out again, right? This is a great time for you guys to start experimenting because while it's in preview, it's totally free. So take advantage of that. Start experimenting, start coming at me with, hey, in order for me to, kind of justify the eventual price that I would pay for this, here's what I'd need to see. I'm happy to hear, kind of those testimonials and what would be meaningful to you. But take advantage of this while you have it, right? You don't have to, assuming you have Automation Cloud, you have access to this right this second, right? So looking forward to hearing more. Do we have from Chandra Sekara? I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. Do we have a Pinecone integration services in UiPath? Yes, that was what Koji demoed, and the Pinecone connector is available in GA right now. Anthony, what LLMs are running behind the scenes for the first-party activities? Is it GPT? You have control over which model you would like to work with. In the future, what you're going to see with the curated activities we're probably going to set a default model. And that is going to be kind of what we would recommend you use based on internal testing from our machine learning and data science teams. And also the syntax that we set up for the prompt is going to be optimized for that particular model. Right now, I know there are the GPT, the whole, we run the gamut in terms of 3.5 Turbo and GPT-4. And then in terms of other provider models, I know that Gemini is available right now from Google. But the idea is that we'll kind of continuously add the models to for you to be able to select within the activities. Very much depends on kind of our own internal testing. Is Automation Cloud FedRAMP? This is from Victor. It is in the process of being FedRAMPed. I think that there was a goal for 24/10, so October. But I would have to double check. I do have a colleague who is in charge of that project. Would be happy to reach out to them for you. And Teddy referenced a Yahoo.com article about FedRAMP authorization automation. Oh, cool. Awesome. Thanks, Teddy. I appreciate that.
Okay. We're a little bit past the hour, but this has been a great session. Thank you so much, Scott. Congratulations to Tyler on the Mente quiz. And thanks everyone for coming. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you very much and take care.
Thank you.